And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in times past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Mashiach. By grace ye are saved, and hath raised us up together, and made us sit together in heavenly places, in Yahushua HaMashiach, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness toward us through Yahushua HaMashiach. Ephesians 2:1-7. On Sunday, February 11th, 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs secured their second consecutive Super Bowl title after scoring a touchdown in overtime.
Can only feel the number of people out there being like, what's going on?
First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
It took 13 plays, 7 minutes, and 19 seconds for the Chiefs to get into the end zone, their longest drive of the day, and it was capped off by McCole Hardman's touchdown. For several years now, I've been exposing the Super Bowl for exactly what it is: a satanic ritual that is meant to exalt the devil and his Antichrist.
I'll take a Coke.
Is Pepsi okay?
Is Pepsi okay? Is Pepsi okay? Pepsi okay?
Hold on. Is that Drake? Is that
That's
Drake?
right.
Is that Drake? Is that Drake? Is that Drake? Is that Drake?
I'm beginning to feel like a rap god who thinks that arms are long enough to slap.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Purple rain, purple rain.
Purple rain.
Sing it!
Purple rain.
So this morning we played Purple Rain and Delirious. 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 Purple Rain and Delirious.
This year's Super Bowl is no different. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Previously, I have explained how the Super Bowl, or superb owl, actually points to the worship of the pagan god Moloch or Molech, who is depicted both as an owl and a horned bull god. We've been shown several references to Moloch in several satanic blood sacrifice rituals. The owl appears on the dollar bill. It is worshipped at the Bohemian Grove. It is also a part of the Freemasonic layout of Washington, D.C. Further, it has been part of several mass shooting events, and it was connected with Obama in the movie They Cloned Tyrone. Not only is the Super Bowl connected with the worship of the pagan god Molech, this year's Super Bowl was also connected with the number 13, the number of rebellion. Super Bowl Lviii, or 58, gives us 5 plus 8, which equals 13, the number of rebellion. There was also a video released of Taylor Swift, whose boyfriend Travis Kelce plays for the Chiefs, talking about her connection to the number 13.
Why 13? What is
Okay, I was born on the 13th. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in 13 weeks. Also, thanks. My first song that ever went number 1, it had a 13-second intro. And I didn't even do that on purpose. And every time I've ever won an award at an award show, I've either been seated in the 13th row or row M, which is the 13th letter. And when I won the Horizon Award at the CMA Awards, the producer came up to me when I was sound checking and said, "All right, we're going to go in 13 seconds, 13 seconds."
The winning drive lasted 13 plays, and we know the number of rebellion points to the rebellious fallen angel, Lucifer. This is confirmed in the fact that Super Bowl 58, or 13, was held in Las Vegas, which means the fallen vulture, or eagle, as a reference to the fallen angel, Lucifer.
We want to begin tonight with new developments in a shooting on a college campus just hours ago. We are just learning from law enforcement that multiple people were killed after a gunman opened fire inside the business school at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Interestingly enough, from the satanic blood sacrifice ritual mass shooting event that occurred in Las Vegas on December 6, 2023, to Super Bowl 58, which was held on February 11th, 2024, was 67 days, and 6 plus 7 equals 13, the number of rebellion. Not to mention, Las Vegas is also called Sin City, and since the rebellious fallen angel and serpent, Satan, is responsible for the fall of man through rebellion against God and the introduction of sin and death into the world, we can be sure that Super Bowl 58 being held in Las Vegas and connected to the number 13 was no coincidence. The final drive was 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Strong's Concordance lists H719 as Arvad, which means I shall break loose. Arvad is a wandering, a place of fugitives, to wander about freely, to break the yoke of God off of one's neck, to go about unbridled and unreined by God, to break free. The final pass was thrown to McCall Hardeman, who wears the number 12. Strong's H12 is Abdon, which means destruction, and it comes from the root word which means to perish, the place of divine judgment and utter destruction. This was meant to point to the setting free of the rebellious king of the bottomless pit, the chief of the fallen angels, Abaddon or Apollyon. The date of the Super Bowl was February 11th, 2024. When we add the numbers of the date, we get 444, because 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4, and 2 plus 2 is also 4. When put together with the remaining 4, gives us 444, and points us to the phrase 4, number 44, Obama. The Chiefs were playing against the San Francisco 49ers, who were led by number 13, Brock Purdy. 4 plus 9 is also 13, the number of rebellion. San Francisco is a reference to Saint Francis and points to the second beast, the false prophet, who will cause the world to worship the first beast, the Antichrist, as found in Revelation 13:11-12, which declares, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." The ritual was performed in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Notice the rising sun logo, which connects Allegiant Stadium to Obama, whose logo is the rising sun as well. The word allegiant comes from allegiance, which is formed from liege, meaning free. This connects to the running theme of freedom that we have been discussing throughout this body of work. The Statue of Liberty represents freedom. Obama, signing the beam at the One World Freedom Tower, connected himself with freedom in 9/11. Kanye West, setting himself on fire, was connected to freedom. The mass shooter in Chicago on July 4th, Independence Day, also connected himself with freedom. Obama also gave the Medal of Freedom to Chicago Bull Michael Air Jordan. Each one of these references to freedom is meant to point to the setting free or releasing of the king of the bottomless pit, Abaddon or Apollyon, Satan, the prince of the power of the air. Moreover, the word allegiance means loyalty and obedience. This is a reference to whom you will pledge your loyalty, obedience, and allegiance to during the coming final hour, the time of Jacob's trouble, the tribulation. Either you will serve God, or you will take the mark of the beast and worship and serve the devil and his Antichrist. Revelation 13:8 declares, "And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world." The Chiefs won the Super Bowl in overtime, and the final score was 22-25. 22 plus 25 equals 47, and the number 47 points to the 47th problem of Euclid, or the Pythagorean theorem, which in Freemasonry represents the so-called divine trinity of Osiris and Isis, who gave birth to Horus, the sun god, and Antichrist. The importance of the number 11 should not be overlooked. 4 plus 7 equals 11, and if we add the score 22 and 25 as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 5, we also get 11, which is the same as the date the Super Bowl was held, on the 11th. February 11th is the 42nd day of the year, which gives us 4 2s, or 2222, and 22 plus 22 is 44, which points to number 44, Obama. The day the event occurred, Sunday, points to the sun god, which also points to Obama, whose logo is the rising sun, the same logo that sits atop Allegiant Stadium. After February 11th, there are 323 days that remain until the end of the year. Strong's Concordance lists G323 as a nadexis, which means a pointing out, a public showing forth, a proclaiming, announcing, inaugurating of such as are elected to office, to announce, appoint, and show, to lift anything on high and exhibit it for all to behold, to show to the eyes of every man, to give evidence and proof of a thing. But what are they showing us, you ask? The answer is simple. The number 11 points to the 11th horn, who is the Antichrist, as found in Daniel 7:7-8, which declares, "After this I saw in the night visions, and beheld a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things." Not only that, but Strong's H11 is Abaddon, which is the place of destruction and ruin, the abyss. And Abaddon is also the name of the king of the bottomless pit. As it turns out, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, one person was killed and 14 people were injured in an orchestrated, satanic ritual mass shooting that occurred at the Kansas City Chiefs Superbowl celebration.
We're back with our breaking news. At least one person has been killed, 14 others injured at a Super Bowl victory rally in Kansas City. You're seeing images there of people and law enforcement running at the scene moments ago. That was a chaotic scene that is now, we're learning, resulting in casualties.
Now check this out. On Super Bowl Sunday, February 11th, an orchestrated mass shooting ritual occurred at Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church in Houston.
Pastor Joel Osteen's megachurch in Houston was the scene of a shooting yesterday. A woman opened fire before 2 security guards shot and killed her. A 5-year-old boy who was with her and a 57-year-old man were wounded.
Notice the mayor mentions the people gathering to worship in the Super Bowl in the same breath.
As the mayor of the great city of Houston, I appear before you today to reassure Houstonians and our neighboring communities that our first responders are on the job providing our safety. We all know that we had a tragedy at Lakewood just the evening when families were coming together to worship and prepare for America's #1 sports event.
This was a reiteration of the very same sentiment eschewed by Madonna when she described the Super Bowl as the Holy of Holies and her halftime show as a church service.
Well, it's the Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl is kind of like the Holy of Holies in America, right? So, like, here I am. I'm going to come into the halfway between, like, the church experience, and I'm going to have to deliver a sermon. It's going to have to be very impactful.
It is important to note that this was the performance when Madonna dressed as the horned god while she simulated giving birth to the Antichrist. This was also the game in which the Giants' number 44, Ahmad Bradshaw, scored the 6-yard touchdown, simulating the birth of the Nephilim giant, number 44, Barack Obama. The name Lakewood is a reference to the kindling that will be burned in the lake of fire. Notice the symbol for Lakewood is a bird with a flame of fire on its head. This represents the firebird or phoenix bird, which is a symbol for death and resurrection or rebirth. Remember, we were also shown the firebird or flamingo in Obama's movie, Leave the World Behind.
Those are flamingos. Those are flamingos? Those are flamingos? Those are flamingos? Those are flamingos?
Not to mention the false messiah figure, Tupac, was sacrificed in Las Vegas on Flamingo and Koval, which means blacksmith, a reference to Vulcan, the god of fire. His killer was wearing the number 13 Miami Dolphins jersey, and Tupac died on Friday, the 13th of September. We know that the phoenix bird actually represents the fallen angel, Lucifer, as found in Ezekiel 28:18, which declares, "Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth, in the sight of all them that behold thee."
Again, I want to thank all these gentlemen because, I can only imagine if it would have happened during the 11 o'clock service.
Osteen said, "I can imagine if it happened at the 11 o'clock service," again pointing to the number 11, Abaddon, the bottomless pit of hell, the abyss, and the king of the pit. The shooter was identified as 36-year-old Janice Yvonne Moreno, and we were told that she used an AR-15 with the words "Free Palestine" written on it. 36 gives us 3 6s, or 666. The name Genesee means beautiful valley, and it is a reference to the Genesee River, which is called the River of Many Falls. This again points us to the fallen angel, Lucifer, who was beautiful before his fall from grace, as found in Ezekiel 28:17, which declares, "Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee." The name Yvonne also means yew tree. The yew tree, which was held sacred to Druids, and like the phoenix bird, it also symbolizes death and resurrection. This explains why Yvonne went on a shooting spree at Lakewood Church, which uses the phoenix bird as its logo. The toxicity of the tree's needles further contributes to its connection with death. Shakespeare was familiar with these qualities when he had Macbeth concoct a poisonous brew. The deadly drink included slips of yew, silvered in the moon's eclipse. The name Moreno means brown or swarthy complexion, having a dark appearance, which also infers a dark or evil aura. This is meant to signify that the Antichrist, who will receive a deadly head wound and live, will be a man of brown skin, having a dark aura, and points to Barack Obama. The fact that the shooter wrote the words "Free Palestine" on her weapon connects back to the theme of freedom that we spoke about earlier, which ultimately points to the setting free or releasing of the king of the bottomless pit. It is important to note that Palestine means Philistines, and the Philistines, like Goliath, were descendants of the Anakim or Nephilim giants. Not only that, but the reference to the Israeli-Palestinian war
We are at war.
points us to the 7-year peace treaty, which will be confirmed by the Antichrist and signal the beginning of the tribulation. A 5-year-old boy and a 57-year-old man were shot during this event. 5 + 5 + 7 = 17. Strong's H17 is avoy, and it means woe, an expression of pain, grief, and sorrow. This is also meant to point to the coming tribulation period. This is confirmed by the fact that the winning team in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, are from Missouri or misery, which also means sorrow, trouble, grief, and woe. The shooting occurred in Houston, which is called Space City, USA. The fact that the shooting was connected to the NASA space program and the number 11 points to the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. This also connects back to the death of Carl Weathers, who played Apollo Creed in the movie Rocky. Remember, Weathers was 76 years old, and 7 + 6 is 13, further connecting him with the number 13 that surrounded this year's Super Bowl. Also, remember Apollo fought Rocky, who was from Philadelphia, which connects to the Philadelphia 76ers. They fought on July 4th, or Independence Day, which is also a reference to freedom.
There's nothing they'd like better than to see Apollo Creed give a local Philadelphia boy a shot at the greatest title in the world on this country's biggest birds.
I must mention that Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church has a big sign positioned in front of it that reads, "Hope is here." Here, Joel Osteen is speaking about the shooting. Notice the truck in the background that reads, "Giving hope to the world." Osteen even mentions giving hope to the world while he's speaking.
We're going to continue to move forward, and there are forces of evil, but the forces that are for us, the forces of God, are stronger than that. So we're going to keep going strong and just doing what God's called us to do, lift people up and give hope to the world.
So we can be sure that this shooting was orchestrated and his words were planned beforehand. The mention of hope connects back to the ritual sacrifice of Mo 3 on a Dallas freeway in Texas, since there was a Kroger truck parked in the crime scene with the words "Bringing hope to the table" on it. Remember, Mo 3 was pictured throwing up the number 44, which points to Obama as well. Hope also connects back to the transgender pastor at Hope Church in Chicago. Hope also points to Obama, the false messiah, and his slogan of hope.
It's been you who fueled my dogged faith in our future, even when the odds were great, even when the road is long. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty, the audacity of hope.
Hope is also connected to Superman, who is a false messiah figure.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Remember, Obama connected himself with Superman and made reference to himself as a false messiah, all in the same breath.
Let me try to give you some answers. Who is Barack Obama? Contrary to the rumors that you've heard, I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
The Super Bowl is meant to point us to Superman.
We, as a population on this planet, have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in a higher power, and every religion believes in some sort of messianic figure.
It is also important to note that Obama mentioned that it was hard to feel hopeful while observing the Israeli-Palestinian war.
We have watched a deadly struggle unfold in the Middle East, triggered by the horrific murder of more than 1,400 mostly civilian Israelis, many of them children, at the hands of Hamas, as well as the abduction of over 200 hostages. And then an Israeli response that has so far resulted in the displacement of well over 1 million people, the death of at least 9,000 Palestinian civilians, thousands of them also children, the cutoff of water, food, electricity to a captive population that risks creating an even greater humanitarian crisis. And all of this is taking place against the backdrop of decades of failure to achieve a durable peace for both Israelis and Palestinians. One that is based on genuine security for Israel, a recognition of its right to exist, and a peace that is based on an end of the occupation and the creation of a viable state and self-determination for the Palestinian people. Now, I will admit, it is impossible to be dispassionate in the face of this carnage. It is hard to feel hope.
This shooting at Joel Osteen's church in Houston, the former home of the Rockets, on the 11th, and the fact that the number 11 is Abaddon or Apollyon, also connects back to NASA in the phrase, Houston, we have a problem. Houston also connects back to Travis Scott's Astroworld concert and the opening of a portal or doorway to hell. The name Apollo and the moon also connects back to Obama's movie, Leave the World Behind, since the opening sequence was made to resemble the book cover for the Apollo murders. The Houston Rockets also points to the ritual sacrifice of Takeoff in Houston. Remember, Takeoff had an album called The Last Rocket. Speaking of rappers, we can't forget Joel Osteen's connection with the false messiah figure, Kanye West. Osteen brought Kanye out to his church during Kanye's release of his album, Jesus is King.
Hey everybody, come on, let's welcome Mr. Kanye West today. Awesome to have you. All right, guys, y'all can be seated. So awesome to have you at Lakewood and just feel blessed. And all right, guys, y'all can be seated. And Kanye was so kind to come for tonight's Sunday service, and when I heard he was coming, I said, man, you got to come on Sunday morning, at least say hello to the people. So here we feel blessed to have you, Kanye. And Kanye, we just some thoughts maybe. We've all seen, you know, something happened in the last year or so, not where you were back then. Maybe you can just speak a little bit to the transition. And, you know, how are you here today at Lakewood?
You will remember that I showed you how this album, which was flooded in all bloom for the Blue Devil, was meant to connect to Kenneth Anger's Lucifer Rising. Kanye's Jesus is King was also connected to Roden Crater. Roden Crater, which is an extinct volcano, is connected with Vulcan, the god of fire. The use of Roden Crater was meant to point to the fifth angel who was given the key to open the bottomless pit in Revelation chapter 9. Several times in the past, we have discussed Kanye setting himself on fire while singing I'm Free during his Donda album release party, which was meant to symbolize the rise of the king of the bottomless pit, Abaddon or Apollyon, as found in Revelation 9:11. Obviously, since Kanye is from the Windy City of Chicago, this connects him to the horned god, Molech, or Satan, the prince of the power of the air. Interestingly enough, when the news media interviewed a witness to the shooting at Lakewood Church, she threw up the 666 hand sign, while in the background we can see that the building numbers are 9 and 11.
Yeah, I hear three shots, like maybe 15, 20 seconds or 30 seconds between one or the other one.
This was meant as a reference to Revelation 9:11 and the rise of the king of the bottomless pit. This ritual sacrifice event during Sunday worship services at Lakewood Church was purposefully timed to occur on the same day of the Super Bowl, which was held at Allegiant Stadium, which uses the rising sun as its logo during America's Holy of Holies and worship service, according to Madonna,
like the Holy of Holies in America, right?
the woman who gave birth to the false Messiah, number 44. It was also purposefully connected to the Israeli-Palestinian war and Joel Osteen's mention of the 11 o'clock service.
Well, I can only imagine if it would have happened during the 11 o'clock service.
Or the 11th hour, in conjunction with the message of hope at his church,
Do lift people up and give hope to the world.
which uses the phoenix bird that rises from its own ashes, was not done by coincidence. The 11th hour means the latest possible time. And 1 John 2:18 declares, Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. In fact, this was meant to point the world to the 11th horn, the Antichrist, Barack Obama, who will confirm the covenant between Israel and Palestine. This is the man who will also receive a deadly head wound and be resurrected from it, like the phoenix rising from his own ashes. As a side note, I must mention that it was reported that Taylor Swift flew from Japan an 11-hour flight to get to the Super Bowl at the last possible time so that she could watch her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, play. Japan is the land of the rising sun, which also points to Barack Obama. Also, on February 11th, world record marathon holder Kelvin Kiptum was killed in a car accident in Kenya. Kiptum was 24 years old, and he had set the world record last year at the Chicago Marathon on October 8th. It is important to note that Obama is from Kenya.
It was Alma who first guided me through Kenya almost 30 years ago.
And his grandmother lived in Kenya until her death recently. This connects back to Obama's reference to the Lion King when speaking about his birth.
No one has seen this footage in 50 years. Not even me. But let's take a look.
Further, a group from Kenya sang a song at Obama's grandmother's home in Kenya after his election as president, proclaiming him as the savior. The marathon runner was 24 years old, which gives us 2 4s and points to number 44, Obama. He was from Kenya, and he set the record in Chicago. This also points to Obama and connects him to the horned bull god Molech, the prince of the power of the air. Not only that, but the mention of the marathon connects back to Nipsey Hussle, his album Victory Lap, and his store, The Marathon, in front of which he was sacrificed. Nipsey also connected himself with the rising sun.
My face, it said, I don't know what side. I think it's this side. It said God will rise.
And remember, no matter what happens, the sun will rise in the morning.
The marathon points to the race we all run, according to 1 Corinthians 9:24, which declares, Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run, that ye may obtain. He set the record on October 8th, 2023, and since Octo means 8, October 8th is 88, and the number 88 points to Mercury, the swift-footed messenger god. This is also the reason we were told that Taylor Swift made her way from Japan, the land of the rising sun, to the Super Bowl in the 11th hour. Mercury was also depicted dancing around Madonna during her Super Bowl ritual. The symbol for the planet Mercury is that of a horned god. Mercury is also known as the trickster god and guide to souls in the underworld, and he carries the caduceus like Baphomet. From the information presented in this video, it is clear that the world is being prepared to worship the devil and his antichrist, Barack Obama. Therefore, if you have not given your life to the Most High by accepting the blood sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, which was shed on the cross as a propitiation for the redemption of sins, the time to do so is now. Amen. Shalom.